How would the Indoraptor survive in prehistoric times? Based on the Indoraptor's size in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, he might have fared well even as a loner. But what if this guy had been real? If we set him in the Cretaceous period, around the time of the T-Rex, which was from 84 to 66 million years ago, and the time of a regular velociraptor, which was around 86 to 70 million years ago, depending on what region Ripper was living in at the time, he would have had some competition. If Ripper had lived in Asia, there wouldn't have been much competition in terms of brawn. He would have been strong enough to take on the tiny velociraptors. However, if the velociraptors in that case had hunted in packs, they would be a nuisance, but the mighty Indoraptor would rip them to shreds. Remember, Blue's design as well as the other raptors of the Jurassic Park franchise are based on Deinonychus, which lived a much longer time ago. Also, if Ripper lived alongside raptors, he would be living in an area that's arid and hot. We don't know if you noticed that animals that tend to live in desert-like environments are not very large. As a matter of fact, they're very tiny. This is probably due to energy loss. If you're large, you produce more heat, and also you require more energy to move your mass, which generates more heat because you're bigger. So larger animals would not fare very well in a desert environment. Ripper and his kind, because of this disadvantage, would die out eventually. Also, because he's so large, it would be hard to find enough food to keep him adequately fed. It would not be an ideal environment for him, and this is the advantage that the velociraptors would have over the Indoraptor. So what if he lived alongside the T-Rex? The Tyrannosaurus Rex lived in North America in forested areas and valleys. Ripper would do much better here, but then he would have to deal with a larger competitor. Being that Ripper would be smarter, he could gather food a lot better than the T-Rex. Well, he would also be great at problem solving. Even though Ripper would be able to do well by himself, he would probably socialize with others of his kind, knowing that they could benefit from working together, especially to overthrow a bigger competitor or threat. Of course, this is all under the pretense that Ripper is an actual breed of dinosaur and not just some genetic hybrid. If Ripper and his kind were to go up against a Tyrannosaurus Rex and get caught between its jaws, they would lose. So even though Ripper may try intimidating a Rex, he would not be stupid enough to challenge it head on. Also, his kind would probably resort to stealing food, much like hyenas do from lions. Over some time, Ripper's kind would drastically shrink in size, and here's why. Indoraptors, because they're social animals and very intelligent, would seek opportunities to aid in their survival. They would be opportunists. They would try to eat anything they could to sustain themselves until the next big kill, especially if a Rex were to heavily guard its kill. As a result, Indoraptors would hunt smaller animals. To hold them over as well. The smaller Indoraptors would be much lighter than their larger brethren, and so would be quicker on their feet. This would cause them to catch more food. They would breed, and over time, smaller Indoraptors would be bred. Not just to be good at evading, but also to be more skillful predators. They would also become smarter over time as well, since with their smaller size, they'd be hunting prey that are adept at hiding and escaping. Skill allocation to intelligence. The other reason they would do better as smaller Indoraptors is because the females, while nesting, would be able to hide better in better spots, or even atop places that are not accessible to larger predators. Also, these places would not be accessible to the larger versions of the Indoraptors that could not climb efficiently. Unbeknownst to the Indoraptors, they would slowly remove themselves from being competitors of the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex by shrinking. Now, even though they'd be catching more food, a smaller Indoraptor wouldn't need as much food to live as a larger version of itself, or even as a large theropod would. It would also be easier for them to steal from larger predators if they needed to. They could hide better from environmental threats and larger predators. Everything would just work in favor of them being a smaller size. Being intelligent and social, the Indoraptors would develop an attraction to smaller members of their species, because most likely those would be the ones that are the quick-footed hunters. Ripper's kind would essentially become the velociraptors of North America for that time. Now, if you're wondering why we didn't incorporate any of Ripper's abilities, it's because as far as we're concerned and based on what we saw in the film, the only ability this thing seems to have is basal level intelligence for his species, and a bulletproof head. That's it. Not once was it portrayed in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom that this thing located its prey via echolocation, or could move completely silently in the dark, or even ate everything in sight. It seemed to be better at sniffing like a bloodhound. Its sense of smell would come into play, but T-Rex had a better sense of smell than anything at that time, so that's not really a feat. Bullets weren't being fired back in those times either, so that little tidbit would most likely be bred out. That's it for this video. The Indoraptor would have become successful while its reign lasted. That's our theory on how the Indoraptor would have survived in prehistoric times. We hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave your ideas on what you think might have happened if the Indoraptor had walked the earth with T-Rex or Velociraptor. Thanks for watching. This has been Altiori. You ask, we answer.